Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by Barstool Sports and another nerd news edition of My Mom's Basement. It is Robbie and Clem. We are here to break down all of the nerd news of the week, as well as a little Invincible talk, because that came back for season 3. We're 5 episodes in. It's actually like getting going, and it's been really good. We mentioned it, but we haven't really talked about it, so we'll really dive into it. Clem, how we doing?
Doing good. We'll talk about it later, but definitely a fan of what Invincible's done so far. Crazy how these like streaming releases, you're like halfway through a season, not even
I
a
know,
month
like
into
that.
the show.
And
So
they
wild.
did release the 3 at first, and that helps like expand it, I guess, or expedite it. But yeah, it feels weird that we're already 5 episodes into the season. And Robert Kirkman did come out and say, he's like, I'm not going to promise we're going to have a season for you every February, but that is certainly going to be the goal. So they want to make this an annual thing, which I appreciate them, putting it out there, almost trying to hold themselves accountable to that.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. I didn't even realize how close we are to Daredevil coming out in March. And then Last of Us, April 13th, I saw is the premiere. So
Yeah, I think
Basement's about to
that's
get busy again.
it's like the day that Daredevil ends, The Last of Us starts. I think there's something like that, or the week that it does. There was some kind of stat floating around like that. Yeah. And I'll talk about Daredevil a little bit as well. I'm currently working on an everything you need to know before watching Daredevil Born Again video, but I'm also still making my way through Daredevil, the series. So I kind of wrote the entire script around where I am in Daredevil, talked about the MCU stuff, talked about season 1. We'll get into that. I want to do some basement keeping up at the front. Marvel Rival streams every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. I'm doing Marvel Rival streams on this channel, also the Barstool Sports Twitch. We're also doing a bonus stream on Friday. Tomorrow, if you're listening to this the night it comes out. Today, if you're listening to it on Friday the 21st. It'll be me and special guest Ken Jack trying out the new characters. They are releasing 2 new characters, The Thing and the Human Torch. Nick Hamilton got it set up in the office where we're going to have screens right next to each other like an old school LAN party, and we'll be playing it, trying to grind out some wins. Got to tell you, Clem, it's not going great for me. I'm enjoying the streams. The last stream I did, I had to go back and retitle the whole thing, re-thumbnail it. Worst streamer alive, can't get a single win. Because it was a little hat tip to Smitty. I remember that became his thing. I always say, with gaming, everyone here that's running is running because Smitty walked when it comes to game time and stuff. And he eventually found a lane as the worst Fortnite player of all time, kind of worked for him. I went live and I took like 10 L's in a row and I said, fuck it. Maybe I got to lean into this, Clem.
Shout out the general. Some of the hardest stuff I've ever laughed at Barstool was Smitty getting his heart ripped out at the last second and just like shocked faces, losing his mind at, what was it? Private Balls? Was it
Private Balls? Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what you guys have there. You got to make some pizza rolls. I feel like that's part of the LAN party vibes, right?
Oh, I got a costume too. I'm dressing up as the Thing this time. I've been doing DIY costumes. They could be called like so bad they're good costumes. I like to think they're just great. They're just absolute screen accurate, works of art. But yeah, tune in for that noon on Friday. I think it'll be a fun stream. It's going to be an expanded stream too. I usually do an hour. Tomorrow we're going to be doing 2 hours because we've got double the characters to play with and a new map.
And if you're going to be doing, housekeeping, basement keeping, if you may, I will say Robbie did the Captain America, like you said, everything you need to know. And if you haven't seen Cap yet, go watch that video. Doesn't give any stuff away about the current movie. Obviously, it's all the stuff from the past. So if you don't have to watch like 7 different movies with all the different characters that are in it, he's doing it again for Daredevil. You're basically the professor that's learning the subject as he's putting the lecture for the students, which I absolutely love, the Barstool way. But it's, everyone has those videos, like everything you need to know, 30 years of movies in 10 minutes. Bob's doing it with the Barstool twist, which is something we've needed, and I think it's good. I think it's great. I think the first one was great. I think they're going to get even better as we go along here. You'll have Daredevil, Fantastic Four, Soupy. We going to get Soupy, my guy?
Yeah, I think I should. I mean, like, it's weird to do for that one because it's an origin. So, but I mean, there's the characters like Mr. Terrific and Green Lantern and Hawk Girl. Like maybe those characters, Metamorpho, they could use some explaining, I think.
Yeah, and again,
just even like broad strokes, just something to go in and be like, all right, yeah, it's easier to follow.
Yep, exactly. So check that out on this. everything. A lot of this stuff now is on YouTube. It's
Yep.
our Barstool discovered YouTube in 2023, I believe. Even
Yeah.
though we were trying to
A little
upload
too
in like
late.
2016, we're like, please let us just upload to YouTube. So a lot of this stuff lives there. Obviously, you're not going to see a lot of this stuff in the feeds on the podcast. So check that out. Subscribe. Blah blah blah. I'm not even going to bother to ask you guys that kind of nonsense anymore. So yeah, good to be in the basement.
And when it comes to Daredevil, I mentioned him on season 2, episode 8. It's amazing. It really is like so good. Now, I feel weird saying this. I don't know if it's lived up to the hype for me, because the way people have talked about it for so long, I think I went into Daredevil expecting like the Penguin. And I don't know if I would say it's like the Penguin, but I said to you, it's probably better than every MCU show that they've put out other than Loki. Loki, I would still put above it. I love the writing, the shooting, the story, everything about Loki. I feel like is perfect. But Daredevil is right below it right now. And Charlie Cox is so good as Matt Murdock. But I also feel bad saying every season I've watched so far, the last 2 seasons have gotten stolen away from him. Season 1 is like Vincent D'Onofrio steals the show as Kingpin. Kingpin is so cool and interesting. The stuff with Vanessa, him breaking out of prison, the corruptness. People don't want to say his name. It's like Voldemort, like giving up his name. You might as well kill yourself. Cool. It's like really good stuff. Season 2, it's all John Bernthal as Frank Castle, the Punisher, stealing the show. He is so fucking good. There was an episode where he's got Daredevil like chained up on a roof and they're just talking to each other the whole time. He's calling him Red the whole time. Don't tell me about it, Red. Like total Frank Castle feels like a comic book the way they talk. And there's so many monologues about his daughter, and he's saying the phrases from the children's books he read to his daughter before bed, before he kills people now. It's just like metal as fuck all the way through. One-shot fight sequences that are awesome. I love Foggy, his best friend. He's always just spitting truth bombs. He's always bringing Matt back down to earth. Karen, the love interest friend, kind of going in and out of that whole realm, constantly making wild decisions, like an absolute liability to the team. But, she's ours. So it's like, she's on our team. We like her, but, she's a liability.
Don't you say anything about her.
Exactly. Yeah. And Elektra, they introduced, which I didn't even realize Elektra was going to be in the show, to be honest. They introduced her in season 2. It's been really interesting with her. She's like an heir to a fucking throne. I didn't know anything about her story, and it's all been really good. So overall, I've been loving it. People told me I would love it, and of course, it's a superhero show, TVMA, awesome action, awesome acting, awesome writing. Everything about it's pretty much great.
Basement boys and gals seldom miss when it comes to recommendations, and trust me, you got us. So I'm very excited about that. I'm excited this show already looks really good. And you knew when they kept those actors in these roles, when they were bringing the characters back, it was like, I don't think they were just doing it to be nice, because they will wipe anyone out that they don't see necessary.
And I think they tried, to be honest. And then there was like reshoot process. Like, Daredevil, they started remaking the show, and apparently Born Again did not fit the tone of the original at all. And I think they were kind of doing away with side characters. And there was like an inner show revolt where people were like, hey, this just isn't the show that we're making. And they completely creatively revamped it, like reshot like 3 episodes. And now they're like, the show is saved and it's back to being Daredevil.
Nice.
It's also the directors of Loki, I believe, are doing it, and they're already shooting season 2 as well. Same directors, which I love. I love that we're sticking kind of uniform for once in Marvel and sticking with a plan. Give it to somebody for a couple seasons and let's see what they could do with it. What a concept.
What a concept. Speaking of that, remember we were convinced of a whiteboard, and now it's like, it feels like they have a whiteboard somewhere.
They have those little whiteboards. Everyone has their own like dozen style whiteboard where it's just like a quick one. Everyone writes their own idea and maybe we'll combine them. Let's tell everyone about Factor before we get into the nerd news this week. I love Factor. It's such great stuff. We were just talking about it on the rundown today with Jeff D. Lowe. If you're ready to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that are making eating, easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. I'll be eating Factor for dinner tonight. I got the Factor shipment earlier this week. You could lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor keto meals as well. They've got great shakes. They've got great meals, really high quality stuff, steaks, great fish. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast. That's Factor Podcast, all one word, as the code as well. So you're going to go to factormeals.com/Factor Podcast and use the code Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast. It's great stuff. All right. We've got a ton of nerd news to talk about. We're going to start with DC today, as we kind of have been recently. I feel like they've been leading the charge on the nerd news a lot. This one you sent to me in a text today, and I was just like, oh, I was frothing at the mouth, ready to talk about it, because James Gunn shared a photo with his good friend, Zack Snyder, today. And he said, always a pleasure catching up with my friend Zack Snyder, consummate filmmaker and doubly consummate storyteller. And I noticed the Snyder fans have been oddly quiet today. The Snyder fans that have been shitting on every single piece of promotional material for the new Superman movie and trying to draw comparisons to the Zack Snyder movie. And it's so mid now and they ruined it and it's over and blah, 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 blah. Oh, did you not realize the guy you worship is friends with James Gunn? Like, you idiots. You think that he hates James Gunn as much as you guys do? Get out of town.
All right, Rob, we got our social clip for the week. Throw that on TikTok. Get some hate comments and likes on it, and or hate views, I guess I should say.
Yeah, when I did that with Tommy, the views went through the roof. I told Tommy we might have to bring you on every week just to give us a Snyder clip.
I mean, we've waxed poetic about James Gunn for his creativity, for the different things he's shot, for the fact he stands up for himself. But this might be his greatest stroke of genius yet. Just take a picture with the biggest controversial person of part of the fan base that you will be looking to get money from for the next X amount of years at the head of DC, and you might just shut all of them up with a simple picture, couple of words, whether he means them or not. I don't know. I'm not even gonna go down the Snyder. I was the face of the Snyderverse at one point. From I held up that sign that I didn't know what it
Someone
meant.
just handed you a picket sign at New York Comic-Con and you were like, sure. What does it say?
Release the Snyder Cut. Yeah, I had no clue what it was. And I'm like, I feel like I should probably know what I'm, protesting and picketing for.
That was one of my favorite parts of that day too, because me and Clem went to New York Comic-Con together to shoot like a Man on the Street style video, which you could still watch. It's still up and everything. And I left before Clem did. I think I was like, I had to do something at the office or something. And I was like, all right, don't do anything too crazy without me. And 2 seconds later, I got someone tweeting me a picture of him with a protest sign that says release the Snyder Cut. He's in like a line. It looks like he's protested for a union or something. They had the inflatable rat out there with them. It was crazy.
Dude, and I remember after I was done, I was like, he like sends the picture out or whatever. And I'm like, by the way, what's this Snyder thing about? I really don't know it. At that point, and he said something about like dead kid and something. I'm like, did he like kill a kid or something? Like, I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, man, I might have just been like supporting like an actual like monster or something. Obviously, it's not like that. But boy, like you said, I was like the kid that like
scaries.
The parent left me alone, and I was the kid that as soon as you'll shoot your eye out, kid. I thought I'd shot my eye out, and that was tough.
I did notice Zack Snyder did not retweet this tweet, and he uses his Twitter infrequently, but he does use it. The last thing he tweeted or retweeted was December 31st of 2024. I said a while ago he should call the dogs off, and not because it's like it's just like your fans are insane. Do you not recognize how insane these people are? Why don't you say, hey guys, chill out? Like, we all like Superman here. We all got something in common. We all like Superman. We want the best for Superman. I would like a retweet, but I'm not going to friggin' twist his arm for it, whatever.
Now it's they're both kind of like grinning. I wouldn't say it's a smile by either of them. Is it forced? Did they, drop some money in Snyder's? Like, that's the kind of stuff his fans will be talking about.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, they're holding him hostage.
Yes.
Some good news. Robert Pattinson says the Batman 2 will start shooting at the end of this year. And at this point, Matt Reeves has told him the story, and he thinks it's, quote, very cool. Does he mean cool as in Mr. Freeze cool, as in what killed the dinosaurs, the Ice Age? I don't know, but I'm excited.
Bob, chill out.
We're on a roll, folks. We're on a roll.
Folks, I'm telling you right now, if if it gets announced that Mr. Freeze is in the next Batman movie, it's going to be nothing but that until the movie gets released.
It's going to be at least a pun per episode until then, and it might be a while. They keep friggin' delaying it. It's going to be 2028. We're going to be making Mr. Freeze puns.
and like, they're saying that the natural progression for this story could be a Mr. Freeze because it's winter in Gotham, right?
And it's also like everything's flooded. Could there be something to do with someone's freezing the pipes and you make he's not going to have a fucking freeze ray gun in this universe, I don't think. But can you make a version of him that fits in the Reeves universe? I don't know. Could it be Mr. Freeze and the Court of Owls? Because I also kind of talked myself into really wanting the Court of Owls. I don't know. Maybe it could be. They did 2 villains in a lot of the Batman movies.
Yo, think how sick and twisted the Riddler was in Batman 1, right? And all the really messed up stuff he did with the assassination, the rats, the fucking like chain, the bomb, really twisted stuff. The only thing more twisted than that is if Mr. Freeze literally went around freezing people's pipes and like flooding their homes. Bob, I know you've had to deal with water in the past. I've dealt with water in the past. You're dealing with insurance. It's an absolute nightmare. So it would just be like a really grounded thriller, for lack of a better term,
or even like he's putting his victims on ice. Like I know there was someone that did that in Jersey. I think they called him like the Iceman. He was like a serial killer, and I think he was like storing victims in like fridges and freezers. Maybe they do something like that.
That's scary. That's twisted. It's still not as bad than having water damage in your house because you just can't get rid of it. Remember Kevin at his old house and he had to like get the sump pump and all this kind of stuff. Any person that has ever dealt with this apartment, home, doesn't matter. Water, it's going to go where it wants to go. And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about Mr. Freeze freezing pipes and ruining the entire movie is Bruce in Wayne Manor just being like, God damn it, now the basement's flooded.
He hears the banging of the pipes and he's like, God damn it again. Alfred, who did you hire?
Where is he? Where is he?
More DC news. The Clayface movie is described as a Hollywood horror story that follows a B-movie actor who injects himself with a substance to keep himself relevant. J.A. Bayona, who directed Society of the Snow, a movie I haven't seen, is odd to direct. Mike Flanagan obviously wrote it, but I believe his Exorcist reboot is taking priority over this, so he can't direct. A lot of people, when they read that, they're just like, that's exactly what one of this year's Best Picture nominees, The Substance, is about. It's about a B-movie actress injecting herself with a substance to keep herself relevant. It's tough timing because this isn't like capitalizing off the success of The Substance. This is also the Clayface story from the animated series. It's like the most famous Clayface story. So it's almost tough. I'm sure they'll differentiate the two, and Clayface is going to be represented as more of a, they said not traditionally villain, but maybe a tragic, like sympathetic character. I don't know what this is going to look like. I'm still very intrigued about that. I would still love a Batman appearance at the end, like that fucking Darth Vader Rogue One shit that we talked about. Yeah. But again, you're telling me we're getting like a B, maybe C Batman villain in a horror movie written by Mike Flanagan, who's got great credits to his name. I'm there. Like you're taking weird chances with the DC universe, and it's risky because you're doing it really soon, especially after like Superman and Supergirl, these tentpole event movies. But I'm there. I like James Gunn taking weird chances.
All right, Bob. I heard you say the G word, the great word, that is. Talking about great. Now, this is the thing. I don't know my horror movies, so you can tell me they're good or bad. I can't even argue with you. So I'm just going to say, I hope it's good. Clayface, shout out to us. We sniffed right through that. We said Clayface wasn't going anywhere in Creature Commandos. We knew he'd be a thing. And then obviously all this news came out. Definitely like early James Gunn DCU is going to be very remembered. Very as like, remember Marvel did Iron Man, and then we're going to throw the Hulk out there. And, you know, granted, not everything.
Cap and Thor. And they were going A-list. Yeah.
Creature Commandos first project. We have Clayface movie,
and like if you want to consider his first projects also being Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Like he was like, I'm going to take the niche team and then I'm going to take the niche guy from the niche team and we're going to do a whole show based around him. I also think today or yesterday was 3 years since the finale of Peacemaker aired, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of freaky. It feels like it was yesterday for me.
Really? Oh my God. That just
3 years is like, whoa. But I mean, it makes sense. We had fucking Jason Momoa at the end of that, and the Justice League were standing there with him. Jason Momoa is now Lobo. You know, we've moved on to that point. So it's like, Weird to think about, though. 3 years.
I mean, Jeff D'Lo said it was 2028 in the rundown today. And listen,
Yeah.
Portnoy has been off months in the rundown. I don't think
he's ever been off
years off, though.
No,
That's
I don't think so
presidency.
And Jeff was sick, so he had a bit of that noodle brain that we hear Dave talk about all the time. But yeah, he did say 2028. And check out the rundown from today if you want to hear us talk about a little bonus topic, My Mom's Basement adjacent, but I don't feel like it's worth recapping here. The Rock starring in Martin Scorsese's next movie. That was the main topic on the rundown today. Incredible. So go check out the rundown there for a little bonus basement content. Daniel Craig has dropped out of Sergeant Rock, that kind of strange DC movie that came out of nowhere with, I forget the director's name, Luca Guadagnino, or I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I'm positive I just butchered it. Jeremy Allen White is now being talked about to fill in there. Still feels like a weird movie. We don't know much about Sergeant Rock in the first place, but the script has to be great, or the pitch has to be great for them to be like, again, yeah, sure. In the first slate of DC, take a stab at Sergeant Rock. You're telling me Jeremy Allen White's in the conversation? Again, kind of Timothy Chalamet gif where he's like, his own kombucha girl gif. Kind of feel that way about it.
Again, if they're throwing it at the big dogs and the big dogs are biting, it has to be like, I don't think Daniel Craig is at the stage of his life where he's like, I'm not just going to choose anything. If it has a nice paycheck, franchise potential, or part of a bigger universe, great. But I don't think he's just going to sign up for slop.
That might be that might also be like a stay away clause for him at this point. Like, I don't think he wants to be in a franchise again, because when he did Knives Out, I remember him saying stuff like that, where he's like, I'm so happy to do a small movie like this instead of being in a franchise where I'm locked down, like No Time to Die or James Bond. You know, he had just done No Time to Die, and then Glass Onion is coming out, and we've got Wake Up Dead Man this year. He's in another franchise. Like, he's the guy.
Franchise maker.
And we'll talk a little bit about one of those franchises after I tell everyone about Turtle Beach, which again comes in so clutch. It's not just, I'm not saying it just for the ad. It is the best gaming headset on the market and has been since I was a kid. It has been for probably 15, 20 years. I don't know how long Turtle Beach has been around, but winter has arrived. Don't panic. It's not a bad thing. It's an excuse to cancel all plans, slap on your Turtle Beach headset, and game until the sun finally decides to come back up. If you're playing Marvel Rivals, obviously this season is coming to an end of Marvel Rivals, but there's a lot left to do. You got to get your rank up to gold, get all the extra skins and stuff. Turtle Beach's new Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset picks up so much crystal clear sound, it's basically cheating. It'll help you rank up in Marvel Rivals for sure. You got to hear Penny Parker coming and planting her little mines outside your base before it happens. Even if the snowblower is going off outside, you'll hear every footstep, every reload, every enemy sneaking up on you like you're stomping in your living room. So this winter, forget the cold, grab your Turtle Beach Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset and level up your gaming experience. Head to turtlebeach.com and use code BASEMENT for 10% off your entire order. So again, it's not just for the Turtle Beach Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset. You could get that and a bunch of accessories. You'll get 10% off the whole order at turtlebeach.com with promo code BASEMENT. We love Turtle Beach. And that franchise that I was referencing that Daniel Craig used to be a part of, the James Bond franchise, the James Gunn franchise. It's just him as James Bond in every movie. Interesting news in the world of James Bond today. So if you weren't aware, James Bond as a franchise was owned by, and me and Clem learned this today, the Broccoli family. Jeff told us the Broccoli family owns James Bond. And I knew it was a family that was very protective of the brand for years. I didn't know it was someone named Barbara Broccoli. And what was the other name? Like Cubby Broccoli was like the grandfather or something.
It was something, like Cubby Broccoli. And let's be honest, it's like an English family, I'd imagine, right?
Yes.
So it's like the broccoli.
Broccoli.
At some point, they probably met the Crowns, the Broccoli Crowns. I can't stop laughing at the Broccoli.
The Broccoli family, who is co-owners of the franchise, along with Michael G. Wilson, have sold it, or at least are stepping back and giving full creative control of the franchise to Amazon. Now, 2 months ago, they said they wouldn't do this. They were like, we don't fucking trust Amazon. All of a sudden, it's in Amazon's hands. And they said they're taking a step back to focus on other projects. Bezos already fired off a tweet today being like, who should we cast as the next James Bond? He's trying to crowdsource this shit, which if you followed any internet trends over the years, that is always a bad idea. They will vote for the worst person in the world to try to force your hand or do something weird. Like I remember when Mountain Dew was like, hey, name our new flavor. People, the top voted things were not things Mountain Dew could print on cans. But it's weird news. Obviously, you and me, we've talked about it. We're not like big Bond guys. So we don't have this, like, you better not ruin our franchise. But it is like kind of a staple of Hollywood. Like I would like for Bond not to get ruined.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you sympathize with the diehard fans that are just like,
of course,
they're terrified right now. They're very worried, and you should be. You should be. You will.
I think our guy Heavy Spoilers is the biggest Bond guy. Like bought the Bond car, loves Bond. And he has been tweeting all day, just like trying to cope. And he's like, just think of Invincible, The Boys, Gen V. He's like listing all of the shows that have been good on Amazon Prime, The Terminalist. He's like, just think of the good shows. Just think of the good shows. Just think of the good shows. I think everyone is like, don't be like Rings of Power. Don't be like Rings of Power. Don't be like Rings of Power. Tough.
I've been there many a times where like, the Knicks hire Isaiah Thomas is back in the mix or something. You're just like, everything will be all right. He was a good player and maybe, and then, he's just trading for Eddie Curry and signing Jerome James. It's tough. And like, as a non-fan, it's just one of those things that you appreciate when the pillars of Hollywood are still standing and they're nice and clean. And it's just there. You just can go to sleep at night. And even if we're not diehard fans, and I said it's probably been 2 to 4 Bond movies since I last went and watched it, but it's just nice to have as an option. If I do want to watch it, or hey, the next Bond really resonates with me, or I hear it's awesome, I will go see it. Amazon being the people in charge of that, that's not great.
It's not great. You want to hear like at least like HBO is now in charge of it. And you're like, all right, like maybe we'll get something good out of HBO, but Bond just it feels like, and I'm sure this was said about Star Wars at the time, and I think you could probably say maybe people were right. There's something about making an exclusively theatrical experience a streaming show on like Disney Plus or Amazon Prime. There's something about that cheapens the franchise a little bit. It does, for sure. Like, was I as excited for Skeleton Crew as I was for The Force Awakens when that hit theaters? Like, no, of course not. And that might be an unfair comparison, but like, it's not even close to comparable, even to how excited I was for the first episode of The Mandalorian when Star Wars being a TV show was still new. Like, it's night and day.
And like, you could live with Star Wars. It does feel like it is this whole galaxy and universe that they could flesh out. And fans wanted to until they started doing it. And then it was like, I kind of just want to watch.
Now this is going to be just random spies. And it's like, I know they tried to do it with John Wick, the Continental they did on like Peacock, and people hated it. And that it feels like this similar kind of lane you're going to go with let's focus on another branch of the, spy, whatever. Let's focus on this kind of spy. Let's focus on Q. People were saying maybe a Q origin story or something. Like, I don't know.
It's just going to be tough. And again,
something to worry about for sure.
If it was the right studio, the right person was in charge of it, right? When James Gunn got in charge, you see, we're like, all right, I feel good about this, right?
Yes. Now it's just like Amazon's in charge of it. I don't think we even know a name. It's just like Amazon.
Even with James Gunn, it was like, well, you saw how the HBO becomes Max app, and you're just like, these guys are in charge of it. And then all this stuff with all the shows.
They just made another change too. They were like, we're making a huge change to the brand. And it's that the app is going to go from blue to black.
Oh my God.
What are you doing?
So again, to our Bond fan listeners, we're hoping for the best, not expecting the worst. Expecting the worst?
Prepared for it?
Prepared for the worst. That's it.
Yeah. Similar to Captain America Brave New World.
Yes.
And we hope it's better than that.
Speaking of which, no spoilers. Don't worry, everybody. We had a review, which you guys can go back and listen to. And I texted this to you the other day, and I wanted to say it on the pod. So the reviews have come back, and I think it's about where we thought it would be. I would say some people who are not as bigger Marvel diehards were like, that was pretty good.
Yeah. The audience score is a lot better than I thought it was going to be, I'll say. I think
Yes.
the audience score is like 80. I expected it to be like from 60 to 70, to be honest, with how people were talking on Twitter. 80 surprised me.
Agreed. I'm going to say this, though, because, again, when you think about it, the beginning I thought was not great. The middle to the end had some good parts, and then had some parts you're just like, yeesh. So you
Yeah.
blend it all together. But to keep our little basement universe alive here, the Trust the Feige sign, like the T in Trust, the first T, it like blinks every, say, once a day. I'll go like a little zzz, and it goes off and on just from the post-credit scene. I can't believe that Kevin Feige signed off on that as a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
I think it's absolutely fair to say. And if people are like, guys, you're being too harsh, we're not saying it's a constant flicker. We're not saying you look over at the sign and you're like, oh, we got to fix that every time you see it. It's once a day. You're like, that was weird. Is that broken, or was that the switch, or was that? You're a little confused about what that was. Yeah. You're just a little bit like, what's going on with that sign? Do we got to fix that? Do we not got to fix it? Speaking of fixing things to keep the basement universe alive, if people have been following along with the saga of my car, which I refer to as the Millennium Falcon at this point, because it's the kind of car where something breaks, you hit the roof, and then the radio pops out, and you fix that, and then the side mirror pops out, and you fix that, and then it's one of those kind of cars. All fixed today. Clear slate. I looked at my dashboard, no lights on when I drove out of the mechanic. Shout out Rich the mechanic. I don't think you ripped me off either. I found them on Reddit. Like, I went on Reddit and typed in who won't rip you off in Jersey City. Everyone sent me to this guy, Rich. He seemed like a nice guy. My windshield was so clear that I could have walked right through it. It was crazy. So I said to you this morning, it's fixed. It feels like I put that square satellite on the Falcon from The Force Awakens. It's like, all right, it's a little different. It's not as grungy as it once was, but it's working.
It loses some charm, but hey, you don't have to worry about it just dying on you in the middle of nowhere.
First time at a mechanic ever, by the way. 26 years old. I've had this car since I was in high school. First time at a mechanic.
Bob, I mean, for the people, people kind of know about you, but yeah, you get a little anxious from time to time. The fact that you could just live your life with all those lights on, I don't even like when the tire light is on. I know it's just because of the cold weather.
Yeah.
Like, I check the tire, everything's fine, but it's like that gives me like anxiety. I can't imagine when there's like 7 lights on and
the headlights off.
Yeah. And so what's this guy's name, Rob?
Rich. He's a nice guy.
Shout out Rich. He probably could have fixed the hyperdrive of the Millennium Falcon. Like, that's how
he could have. Yeah.
And I have to admit, I'm so happy you described it the way you did. When I need an answer, I Google like beginner 3D printer Reddit. And I just listen to Reddit if the top votes things, I'll try to go to different Reddits from within the last year, and I'll kind of just like take all the most common answers and be like, I'm just going to roll with the people on this one.
That's what I do every time. Because at this point, you Google something, you don't know if it's Google AI or whatever. Sometimes they have something that's completely wrong. You're like, no, absolutely. Reddit, you're like, all right, these are real people. I'm looking at a forum of people and upvotes. It's a good system.
Or it's at least someone who's like, hey, let's go on Reddit and completely fuck everyone over by saying this is the good thing.
True.
You earned it. You earned my money at ripping me off at that point. You did the old-fashioned way.
This wasn't news, but it was pointed out to me this week by Clemmer in the office, who we've talked about. We want to have Clemmer on the podcast soon for sure, because he's such a Batman nerd and comic nerd. He'd be great on this show. But he pointed out that next May 2026, Avengers Doomsday and The Mandalorian and Grogu are currently slated to come out like 2 weeks apart. And I don't think that's going to stick. I think back in the day, The Force Awakens and Age of Ultron, I think it was Age of Ultron, were also slated to both come out in May, and they eventually pushed Force Awakens to December. And I don't even know if that's because it was too close or if it just wasn't ready. I think one of these movies has to get pushed to December. I would almost prefer it to be The Mandalorian and Grogu. I want to see that movie so bad. But Star Wars around December has become a little like fun tradition. I feel like it's a Christmassy thing for me. So, disgusted face. If you're watching on the YouTube, you could see it. If you're watching it, if you're listening on the podcast feed, Clem made a disgusted face.
It's showing up. Yeah, it definitely is showing up. I mean, we were just at Alamo, and that's where I told you I saw The Last Jedi. And I just remember we go in the car afterwards and talk about it. And you're like freezing because the car needs to warm up after 3 hours in the theater or whatever. And I just got all those, they just came rushing back to me, all those bad memories. Yeah.
I did want to make everyone aware there's a chance we're going to have like the greatest month of our lives in May 2026 if both those stick.
Who franchise, if they had a choice, who should swerve the car out of the Game of Chicken?
Ooh, it's tough because like you would say like respect your elders, Marvel, Star Wars has been here longer, but like Marvel's made more money at this point. You
That's
know,
true.
that they've almost become the top dogs. I feel like Star Wars should be the one to be like, hey, this is an Avengers movie. We're trying the first ever Mandalorian movie. We'll take December.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm a
listen,
Star Wars guy over Marvel for sure. If you're telling me I could only see one of these movies, I'm going to see The Mandalorian and Grogu. And I know a lot of MCU fans would be like, what? You over a fucking Avengers movie where Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom? It's just Star Wars. Where does Baby Yoda we're talking about? Come on.
that's true. This is Baby Yoda's first time on the big screen. You
On
have
the
to
big screen.
account for that.
You got to see it on the biggest screen possible. IMAX.
We got Jeff D. Lowe on the podcast here. I love it. I think actually I would prefer if Marvel steers out of it, because I do feel like Mandalorian has more juice right now than even the
do a May
Avengers
the 4th
franchise.
thing if Mandalorian sticks there.
Yes,
It's
I
not
also
that it's coming out on that day, but you could, center the buzz and marketing promotion around it.
I really wouldn't hate not having it in December again because of like the memories. And let's be honest, Bob. Is there a chance that Marvel could even fucking wrap this movie up by then? That's like a year away.
I know. And like they're starting to shoot it, I think, in a few weeks. I think it's supposed to start shooting in March. I don't know. But
Unless
Fantastic Four seems to be a quick turnaround too. I was worried about that, and it's like it hasn't been delayed yet.
I know I understand the schedule that's out there for what's coming out. I think they need to release like 5 more movies before this comes out. Or this is just going to be the greatest standalone Avengers movie, because like Infinity War and Endgame, it was so good because it took from all these old great movies with characters. Doomsday can't do that, right? They can't unless they're going back to the movies from the 2000s and 2010s.
Well, the tough thing too is like it's almost it's not a complete reboot of the franchise. Obviously, you have a bunch of heroes that we've seen before, but this Doomsday Secret Wars feels more like Avengers and Age of Ultron than it does Infinity War and Endgame. You know, where it's like by Infinity War and Endgame, the characters had so many interactions with each other. Their relationships were so deep and layered. This is like they're all meeting for the first time in the Avengers movies. It kind of feels like the first Avengers movie over again, but it has to be forced to be compared to the 2 other Russo brothers Avengers. It's tough. They're in a tough spot. It's a hard, small target to hit for them.
It's the exhaust port.
It is
hard, essentially, right? I don't know if the Russo brothers were shooting womp rats back in the day, but that's kind of what they
better have that right now.
They better start practicing right now, because I didn't even think of that too. Like, it's also going to have the Russo brothers signature on it, so it's like you can't even be like, listen, let's just pump the brakes and just expectations. Age of Ultron after you saw it the first time, and it's like, guys, I mean, I'm going in with that. I can tell you that right now. That's not a problem for this guy. I did it with Cap. It worked out good. I didn't leave like upset. Some people were upset. Clemmer was
going in with low expectations was great.
Yes, it was so much fun. But like, who are these Avengers? Shang-Chi,
Anthony Mackie, the Hulk is still around, Thor's still around. I don't know. And it's another thing where it's like, we're going to get a skeleton crew, not to reference the Star Wars thing, a skeleton crew of Avengers in Doomsday, and then we're going to get a bigger team. I think Spider-Man will be a big part of it, although people were talking about Tom Holland will have less screen time in Doomsday because he's shooting the Odyssey right now, which I was stunned when they put out a picture of Matt Damon in the Odyssey, which he is the lead. I was like, I didn't know we're like filming this. We're still getting casting announcements and, random discussing film tweets about the Odyssey, but they're full on filming it, promoting it. I think he looks badass. The nerds are freaking out about the armor that he's wearing because it's not historically accurate and whatever. It fucking looks cool. All right. They're like, he doesn't wear the broom shield. It looks cool. All right. Whatever. But going back to the Tom Holland and Avengers Doomsday thing, I kind of figured we wouldn't see his face a lot in this movie because the Avengers don't have Peter Parker anymore. So I think it's going to be like a Mandalorian situation where Pedro can do the voice and someone else can be the body double. I think we're going to get a lot of that for Tom Holland and Spider-Man, or for Spider-Man in Doomsday.
I mean, does RDJ have it in him? Does he have it in him to put up like 38? I'm not asking for 50, but I need more than 20, right? I need that from him. Do you think he can do that? So it's like,
I think he can. If anyone can do it, it's him.
That's true. And that's probably why he is Doom. That's why he has a whole lot of money coming to
And you know what's funny? I actually thought about this while I was playing Marvel Rivals this week because I was trying to play ranked, and I thought I would just be able to get listeners that are amazing at the game to join my team, and then I'd be great. I'd be, we'd be ranked so much higher than everyone else. It cuts you off. So some people are like, hold on, let me hop on my other account because they've already like gotten to the fucking highest rank and they hop on a different account. That's Robert Downey Jr. coming back. He's like, let me hop on my other account and see if I could do it again.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. I still think Baby Yo gets to choose his date before Avengers. And like, again, there's not a lot of Marvel that tells me they can do this and do it right and do it good. Like, give the Russo brothers extra time, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Mando's going to need that extra time. Other than Pedro Pascal being in every fucking franchise in the world.
Yeah.
We're talking about him in Fantastic Four, Last of Us, Avengers. Fantastic Four has to be in that too, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have him in that, especially with Doom involved. You gotta have him in it.
I think so.
They're probably, if that movie's good, they're gonna have by far the highest Q rating, other than Spidey, who we just said isn't gonna be probably playing a full role.
Yeah, I think you have to include him. I was thinking maybe do you save him for Secret Wars? So Secret Wars is the first time we see Avengers, Fantastic Four, and X-Men. But I think you got to give us at least a little bit of Fantastic Four off the bat. If it's called Doomsday, you got to give us a little Reed Richards versus Victor Von Doom action.
And also, do you feel like when we're talking Secret Wars, like I feel a little like intelligent, like a little extra pep in my step because it's like, Secret Wars, like, Spidey did shine in the books. Like, I'm so happy
he broke it down.
Be a book guy. Yeah, I'm so happy.
Go back and listen to that episode or watch it if you haven't with Jose. That's one of our evergreen episodes, the Secret Wars breakdown.
And that's probably not even the one they're going to use for this movie.
I know it's going to be the Hickman one. Yeah, we'll do that one eventually. We'll get to it. And this one isn't as much a news item as much as just a tease, because when I read this, I was like, holy shit, this sounds cool. It sounds right up our alley as Basement Boys. Breaking Bad creator Vince Gilligan's next show will be a psychological sci-fi that explores the human condition in a surprising way. It's compared to classics like E.T., Rhea Seehorn, Kim from Better Call Saul is the lead, and it's already wrapped filming and coming to Apple TV Plus. Another Apple TV Plus thing where it's like they must have Area 51 as their soundstage, because we don't hear anything about shows until it's like they're in their 7th season and they've won every award possible. But this sounds awesome to me. It's the first thing Vince Gilligan's doing outside of the Breaking Bad universe since Breaking Bad, which is crazy.
I had no clue this was even a thing, which I guess is probably because it's an Apple show.
Of course.
And I'm not going to go in blind on this. Because, again, I wasn't a big Better Call Saul fan.
Me neither.
I tapped out knowing it was about to get really good in season 3 or 4. I don't remember when. However, like, I will wait. The reviews are great. I don't have Apple TV. And trust me, it's a real problem, because about 3 movies in a row the other night that we wanted to watch, all were on Apple TV and no one. We just kept going to the next. We're like, you know what?
Severance is the hottest show in the world right now. The second we wrap this podcast up and I edit it, it's Severance time for me. Severance is hot in the streets.
I'm bailing on Severance too, because I've been seeing a lot of negative tweets about it lately, and I can't get into one and then do 2. And also, I appreciate everyone who said this to me. They're like, you have to pay attention. It's one of those ones you have to
put your phone down. Yeah.
Get your brain working.
You're not in the market for that.
This is not me in February of 2025. I can't say it'll be me in March 2025. And then once baseball season starts, we're kind of just SOL. You're just doing Mets every night.
Yeah.
But if they wrap up good, because I think like Nate Dogg was the one tweeting a bunch of stuff about it I saw, where he's like,
and he's negative.
Oh yeah, you didn't like that.
He's being so negative. He's calling Paradise like the greatest show literally in the history of television, and it's like a fine show on Hulu. But Severance is a little confusing for the dog, so he's out on it.
No, I have heard Traitors is awesome.
Oh, I've heard great things about Traitors, and it's hosted by our guy Nightcrawler, Alan Cumming.
Oh, yes.
So we got to get on Traitors. So I know. I have heard great things about that.
What a twist. We're going to go.
That's reality. If you're not following, Traitors is a Peacock reality show.
Yes, and it has like people from The Challenge, I think Big Brother, Survivor.
It's like almost like the Avengers of reality. Like they're bringing everyone together.
And I've heard nothing but fantastic things about it, both online and then like people that I've talked to are like, "Oh no, it's incredible." Where I had enough people talk me out of Severance, not one person. People have just been talking me into Traitors, not even trying, just being like, "I fucking love it."
And another thing I've heard nothing but fantastic things about, and I have nothing but fantastic things to say about, is BIRDDOGS. You see, I'm wearing it for the second week in a row, the quarter zip, because it's the most comfortable thing I own. I also got a tattoo recently on my arm for my nieces. It's like, I swear, every texture you wear rubs up on a fresh tattoo. It hurts. It feels like a little sunburn or something. Not BIRDDOGS. This stuff is so slick, so sleek. It's nice. It's comfortable. Dressing up for the winter is tricky for men. It is. A hoodie makes it look like you're running late for college finals. A blazer makes it look like you're going to court or a funeral or something too official. BIRDDOGS classic quarter zips, what I'm wearing right now, are perfect for when you're looking for something in between. Maybe I'm pulling it off, something in between right now. Whether you're going golfing or going on a first date, BIRDDOGS quarter zips are your new go-to. Now, what about the pants? I love the pants as well. Wearing nice pants is always like uncomfortable. They're not reaching your ankles on time. The stretch khakis they have look like they're dressing up, but they have the stretch and flexibility you need. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting a free hat with any order when you use code MMB at birddogs.com. Birddogs.com. Use the code MMB. You get their best-selling hat completely free when you use that code. This stuff really is the most comfortable stuff in my closet. I love it. I know I look sometimes like I'm going out on the links, like I'm dressed like Frankie Borelli, but I pull it off in a little casual way as well, you know?
You got the fresh haircut too, Bob. Don't undersell the haircut. It kind of goes perfectly with the BIRDDOGS. And like you said, those stretchy pants, but they still look nice. Those are a friend of Clem right there. Like,
and you can wear them in any weather. That's the best. You know, wear them in winter, wear them in summer, and they're breathable. But winter, they even keep you a little warm. It's perfect. It's right in the in between for everything.
BIRDDOG fly in any weather.
BIRDDOGS fly in any weather. I love that. All right, and the final topic.
Do you know what that's from?
I guess.
Do you know what that line is from?
No, I don't. I didn't even know that was a line. I thought you came up with that.
That's the Birdman right there. What happened?
Oh, Birdman himself. Yes. Put some respect on his name.
You know what? BIRDDOGS, that one's on the podcast. BIRDDOGS flying any weather. You put that
you can't lease that out from Birdman.
I guarantee Birdman would be a big fan of that. A big fan.
All right, fair enough. Let's talk Invincible season 3. So if you haven't watched it yet, we are going to talk a little spoilers here because there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. It's been very good. It's definitely better than season 2. I think we both agree on that. We've both said, you were the one that really pitched me on it. And you were like, first episode, it's good. It's normal Invincible, what you've come to expect. And then everything after that is pretty awesome. And I agree with you. Are you still on the same page after watching episode 5?
Yes, I watched episode 1 and I've heard from a few people who were like, "Hey, you guys are going to do Invincible, you know, whatever." And I said, "Yep, we're going to check it out." And then people were like, "Oh, it's you know, really good, this and that." And I watched episode 1 and I'm just like, "Guys, come on. Like, let's not do this again. I don't need. I already have one guy."
It was almost the Captain America Brave New World of Invincible, right? It was like, yeah, it's fine. Like,
I was like, am I dealing with another? I'm dealing with Robbie Foxes everywhere. They're just always sunshine and rainbows and thumbs up. But then after episode 1, episode 2 hit, and we got the twist where Mark's fighting back against Cecil, and I was like, let's fucking go. This is a direction that I guess I had thought of at one point he could fight back like his dad. You know, he does. Yeah. Every other Invincible does become evil in all the other universes. We learned that, right? Yep. So, and then I was like, oh shit, like we're getting a little glimmer of this. And then that plus the brother just being an absolute wild card because he's young and he just has
cold-blooded. All these powers. Yeah, he's got that Omni-Man sensibility about him for the wrong thing sometimes. Oliver, right? Yeah. Yep. I text you. I was like, "Lil bro is a menace."
A menace, an absolute menace. And like even the Guardians coming back and like reforming, and they split. There was like a split there too, which I always like in certain comic franchises when you do have the split. The people like, you know, Civil War, they had it in a different way. So very, very happy so far with it.
My favorite scene for sure was that episode 2, Mark fighting back against Cecil, and everyone, his peers, looking at him like, that was fucking weird. It's almost like when you hear like the awkwardness of your friend's parents yelling at them, but then they yell back way harder, and you're like, all right, now I want to go home. Like, I don't know. I don't think I should be here for this. The Cecil backstory stuff was really good. He's always been one of the more like intriguing characters to me. Walton Goggins does such a good job with his voice too. I think everything between him and Mark has been the highlight of the season. The fucking stuff with his equilibrium that he's messing up with the siren when Mark's trying to pull it out and shit. Mark leaning into his dark side in general is great. I love the black and blue suit that he's got, which Robert Kirkman said is supposed to be like his symbiote suit. Another like Secret Wars reference I appreciated.
I like that when as he was kept hitting him with the sound, it was like he's gone too far now. Like he just can't keep doing it to the kid. And then the fact that they have it in the Pentagon where it just knocks him down again. And seeing those creatures come back and how they're weaponizing those that fucked up that
robot, robot.
Yeah. So a lot of cool stuff. And then you mentioned like I've always wanted him and Eve to get together because I always dug Eve, and I was like, all right, let's go. And it's like they have their issues, but they always work through them. And she's always been like a pretty chill chick. And you're just like, man, I hope this one works out.
The relationship dynamics, not only between him and Eve, but between him and his mom and Oliver, the way he represents like the older brother figure, but also he's trying to like be the father figure in a way. It felt so realistic to me for a cartoon, especially the way he's like, you just got to let him have fun. Like he's telling his mom, like, let him be a normal kid, like stuff like that. I was like, God damn, that feels very real. The family dynamic feels real. The way he's looking out for Oliver and very afraid of his potential is real. It's kind of impressive that they could do a rated R, raunchy, crazy, gory superhero show and have us still be interested in like him taking his girl out on a date. And it's like, oh, that's or a scene between his girlfriend and his ex-girlfriend, Amber. And it's like, oh, they have to have this kind of awkward talk where it's like, yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't date him right after we broke up, but I figured it was coming eventually. Like they're smart about it and they're mature about the conversations. Some other stuff I had as just stuff that I really liked, the Omni-Man and Alan the Alien team up when they do like the episode's over and then like the post credits is like 20 minutes of them. That was awesome. They debuted the greatest tag team maneuver of all time, the double punch on the face. That was insane. I've never seen anything like it.
Metal.
And I really liked the multi-Paul prison escape shit in the most recent episode. Multi-Paul voiced by Simu Liu, Shang-Chi.
Oh shit. I didn't realize that. The Beastmaster, whatever his name was, like we've met him, right? Like he fucked a lot of shit up. So it was like, oh yes, this guy's back, and now we're rooting for him. I always love when they twist it and they bring the villains, and you end up rooting for the villains to help your guys out.
Another thing we talked about, the subplot with Immortal on Future Earth, where like the twins bring him there. That shit was good. They've been cooking this season for sure. And you said there's comic fans that are kind of prepping you for like, hey, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, everyone's like this shit, like they're cooking, and then it's like the comic people who know what's coming. It's like, brother, just you wait, buckle up. And I'm like, how? So I got me really, really stoked for it all. So we've had a very uneven Invincible recaps because I had to catch up. Then they had that goddamn pause. Then it was like half the season, and like
I had to catch up. Yeah,
yep, we did, and we didn't really love season 2. So like,
did not love season 2. It was fine. It was okay, but it didn't leave me like already like I'm excited for new episodes coming out on Thursdays for season 3. Season 2, I wasn't really getting excited for the new drops like that.
Yep.
And another, go ahead.
The even like so when those guys took them, the time travelers who had stolen the Declaration of Independence, and they brought them, I was like, all right, this is where it all goes off the rails. Like I could just not feeling this like scene or the vibes right now. And then by the end, I was like, fuck, that was really fun.
The jokes about that were good too. The someone stole the Declaration of Independence, and he's like, I think I know who it could have been. They're like, no, not him.
And then when he asked for the clothes back and whatever, like all that kind of stuff had me laughing. The Mark and Eve starting their own business, and then he's like, I'm gonna have to charge more.
We got to charge more for 2 of us.
I actually dug the dragon guy too. It was like, yo, that
was cool. Yeah,
that was a problem. And I like Titan. I like the whole story remember when he ended up like taking down his boss, and he can't be dead. They don't show the body, he's not dead in the comic world. But just the way all that stuff has evolved, with like all the people who were backstabbing each other and all that. So, like you said, Bob, Thursdays now when I wake up, I'm like, oh sweet, new Invincible today, which I don't think I've ever felt before.
And another Robert Kirkman quote that I thought was really funny is that he said they offer Bryan Cranston a role every season, and he turns them down every season. He said that's kind of their tradition at this point. Now I want to know, like, who was the character in every season that was offered to Cranston. I could see Cecil being offered to him initially.
Yes.
Or even like a Damien Darkblood. Like, I could see a character like that maybe, or an Immortal. I could see him doing the voice of even. I don't know.
You know who from Breaking Bad who I would love to hear as a character because I just love his voice?
Who?
Vince Gilligan. Oh, Vince Gilligan.
Yeah.
That weird twangy.
I would like to hear even Dean Norris, Hank. He's got a good voice. I feel like he could be like a voice actor. And another show that's been on your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man wrapped up this week had its finale. I am not all caught up on this show. I will catch up. People seem to have really loved the finale. Like, absolute. I have no doubt it's great because it's universal praise across the board. I saw some screenshots. The Watcher popped up in the finale, which they did for X-Men 97. You know, these massive events in the Marvel universe, they're connecting through the animation of the Watcher. I think that's badass. They also announced Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen, will be joining season 2. People are really fired up about that. She's got a cool character design. And they're also resurrecting her in the comics. I know they have before, obviously, with Spider-Gwen. This time she'll be Gwenpool. And I got to be honest, it looks pretty cringeworthy to me. It's like a comic cover of her as Gwenpool. She's giving like the middle finger. It's just a little, it seems edgelordy.
So I saw the picture of Gwenpool. And they're like, she's coming back, but as Gwenpool. And then the responses I was reading was like, fuck this, fuck that. And I thought that was already a thing. Because there is a game that we play or something where Gwenpool is a thing.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, Gwenpool, that's just they're doing this story now. And apparently
she's in Fortnite. Yeah.
That's what it is. Yes, she's in Fortnite. The kids had her in Fortnite and they unlocked her.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. This is apparently a fucking character. Yeah, it's been comics before. So my first reaction was this kind of the same as everyone, because the cover is just her giving, it's like her giving a middle finger. She's got one Wolverine blade and it's just a middle finger. She's giving the smile. It's just like,
that's tough.
All right, we get it. The fucking Deadpool curses. Like, can we do a little bit more than just that? But hell, maybe it'll be good. They're doing a new Captain America series. They're starting, like, I don't know if it's a complete reboot, but like Captain America #1 is dropping this July as well. And I texted Jose about it. I was like, how do we feel about this team behind it? He was like, we're excited. So I'm in on that too. He just tells me what to be excited for. I trust him.
We're due for a Jose episode. We are due for a Jose episode at one point. We're definitely due for a Clemmer episode. And then at one point, Bob, let's talk this one through. Clemmer and Jose, meeting of the minds there. I just love to hear those.
Well, they've met in person. They have met in person once. Yeah, I brought Clemmer to Midtown, met up with Jose, and Jose recommended Clemmer to buy a Spider-Man book that he did buy, written by the guy who's doing this new Captain America thing, bringing everything full circle.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
All right, that was everything we've got for you this week. Next week, we'll have another Nerd News episode, and I think that'll be our last one before Daredevil Born Again. So it's exciting times in the basement. We've got a lot on the horizon, and we will talk to you next week.